this town, and I don't wanna be back where I started from, 'cause my roots won't keep me warm. They won't keep me warm.
AcerBen here, and I'm joined by the singer-songwriter Grace Davies. Hi, Grace.
Hi, you're good.
Where are you joining us from today? You're at home?
I am. I'm in Langor, in Blackburn, Lancashire. Yeah. So I lived in London for 4 years and then moved up here end of 2020 and just haven't left. So It's been a nice little pandemic holiday that's been carried on.
The draw of the North calling you back, was it?
Exactly that. Yeah.
We're here, of course, to talk about your music and your career so far. So how about we go back to the very beginning? So when did you first realize that you had a talent for singing, and who were your early influences?
So I've always been on stage. I started dancing when I was like 3, and then went into acting. And it was only like when I was maybe 10 or 11 that we did Oliver at my primary school, and I got like the lead of Nancy and did like the big solo. My mum was like, yeah, you can sing. Did you know that? And I think I just thought that everyone could. So that was the moment that I was like, oh, well, that's something I didn't know I could do. And like influences, I guess, like when I started doing music full time, it was only when I was like 14 that I heard, well, Adele released 21. And that was like the moment where I went, yeah, I want that. Like I kind of ditched the like performing arts, musical theatre side of it and just went, yeah, I just want to sing now. And that's what I want. So she's always been like a massive inspiration. But when I was 16, I used to sing in like jazz restaurants, like fine dining restaurants, singing jazz, and got very into like Billie Holiday and Carmen McRae and Ella Fitzgerald and all that kind of stuff. So I think that was like a massive influence for like my voice and the way that it sounds.
And then you got into writing your own songs and doing gigs. And did you just know that you wanted to do it as a career?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a local like competition for bands and artists around here, but you could only enter if you had your own music. And at the time I was 16, and I was like, don't have any of my own songs. So I taught myself piano and started writing music, and that kind of like forced me into being an artist rather than like a pub singer or a wedding singer, which was really cool. So yeah.
Sure. And then in 2017, after having some previous contact with Psycho, you were finally persuaded to enter the X Factor. I believe you said you'd only do it if you could sing one of your own songs.
Yeah, basically that. I auditioned for them all when I was like 16. I went for The Voice, for Britain's Got Talent, and for X Factor, and didn't get past like the first producer round. And then kept getting asked to go on X Factor like a few years later, and I kept saying no because I'd kind of realised what I wanted to do as an artist, and I knew that if I went on X Factor I'd be made to sing like Rock Week, Swing Week, this week, that week, and I just wanted to do my own stuff. So yeah, it was only when they were like, okay, if you must, that I took it seriously and went for it.
And you kind of started a trend, really, because you ended up getting to perform several of your own songs throughout the series, which hadn't really happened up to that point. And it must have been great for you as a songwriter to have your songs professionally produced and then put out on iTunes, I think it was, every week. And you were basically releasing a new single every week.
Yeah, that was kind of like a blessing and a curse, because first of all, it was lovely to obviously have everything around you on the show. Like you've got people doing your hair, your makeup, your styling, your staging, like making the backing tracks for you. And it was wild because I'd like written these songs, and then suddenly my kind of creation had come to life on stage, which is wild. But I think the things with the iTunes releases was like, they would record the vocal during sound check on stage. So there was we were never sent into a studio, and like it might have been a bit of a dodgy vocal that probably needed some tuning, or just do a few takes, comp it. So that would have been nice. But I mean, it was cool. Like people were downloading my music every week, and I can't complain. Like the first week of live shows, I was number 2 in the iTunes chart. So it's like there was definitely like pros and cons to it.
Did you get any royalties from that, by the way, or did you have to?
I mean, you'll get writing royalties, yeah, but don't know how much of a paycheck I got from it.
roots won't keep me warm.
So you were one of the early favourites in the competition and you made it all the way to the final, just being pipped to the post by Raksu. But then you were signed to Psycho anyway. But rather than doing the obvious thing of putting out all the songs you'd performed on the show out as an album a couple of months later, you kind of disappeared. So what happened next?
So if I'd have had it my way, I probably would have put out all the songs that I did on the show properly, because Raksu did the same thing. Obviously, they're the winner. And I don't think there's anything in the contract that says like you have to wait for the winner to release a single before you can, like if you were on the same year. But yeah, they released the EP of all the songs that they did on the show pretty quickly, and I would have loved to do that, but I was just never given the option. And I remember distinctively the day that I was signed, the ND kind of said to me, like, you know, I'm not saying take 5 years, but take your time to write an album. There's absolutely no rush. Like, everyone will wait. It'll be fine. And anyone that doesn't wait doesn't matter. And I'm just a very, very hard worker, and I constantly wanted to be on it. So I was like, I'll give you an album in a year. Like, by the end of 2018, because I came off X Factor December 2017. I was like, by the end of 2018, we'll have an album. And we did. Like, when I tell you we did. But yeah, not my decision, unfortunately. And I wasn't really allowed to release until we kind of said to Psycho, me and my manager, like, this has been going on too long now. Like, she's got songs. Can we please release some music? So I managed to be able to release in 2020. And my first single was put out January 2020. And I thought, wouldn't it be weird 3 years later to put out the same songs that I sang on the show 2.5 years ago? So yeah, that first EP I put out was all brand new songs that had been written in 2018. So definitely could have done this sooner. But yeah, it was just kind of to set up the song that I'd always wanted to put out, which was Roots, which I sang on the show. So yeah, they were all new tunes and went down well, but really it was all about Roots.
But then it was kind of overshadowed somewhat by a global pandemic. And then a few months later, of course, sadly, the label closed down. So that must have been a really frustrating time when you'd been working for so long to get to that moment. Did it feel like it was all just going to be snatched away from you?
Yeah, like I very much thought that was the end of my career, because when you have so little control and in those kind of things anyway, when you're like with a label or whatever, you don't make those decisions. And so to then have something so uncontrollable like a global pajama party, we just... It's
a nicer way of putting
it. Yeah,
it.
that was it. Yeah, exactly. And that's what it was. You know, I released my first single, and 4 weeks later we were put into isolation. And I released my second single during this like 2-week isolation period that the government had put us in. And then we were in lockdown. And that was it. So my EP was released at possibly the worst time in the world, i.e. pandemic, Black Lives Matter. It was just like, and rightly so, like everything else in the world mattered more than my music, like 100% behind it. But it was the worst time to release music ever. So there was just no chance of like radio or TV promotion or anything around it. And then, yeah, obviously companies were changing the way that they worked. And that was something that Psycho did during lockdown, and decided to shut down the label a month after my EP came out. So yeah, it was not the best time.
Yeah, bit annoying. So what gave you the strength to say, no, this isn't the end, I'm going to carry on independently?
I mean, I definitely owed it to myself. Like, I have had so many knockbacks throughout my career. I've been full-time singer since I was 16. I'm now 25. So I've always just had a knockback and gone, well, I'll just prove them wrong. And I think it was really hard to do at that time, because I just felt like the world was kind of against me. And that's kind of like a selfish way to put it, but it was just a lot of rubbish thrown at me once. But there was a song that I had written during lockdown and actually put on TikTok and it blew up on TikTok. And I thought, I can't ditch music without putting this song out. Like, there is clearly a demand for it. And that was a song called I Met a Boy Online. And so that was something I started working on like a month after the label shut down. And I just thought, right, I'm just going to get this song out. As soon as I like figure out what I'm allowed to do after this contract is, you know, sorted, that's what I'm going to put out. And that kind of started invigorating an independent release for me.
And they said I was always gonna be that way until I saw you. I believed them every day, and then you came my way. Oh, let me love, oh, let me love you until we're old. Don't let me love, oh, let me love you.
I mean, it's a really brave thing to do, to put your own money on the line and do everything yourself. So, but what are the pros and cons, you think, of being independent?
There are so many of each side. So like, pros is that I have all of the creative control, and this is something that I've always wanted. Yeah, owning your masters is so important, and that's something that I'm so glad I have for Roots. But then it's kind of like not having that major label infrastructure around you of like knowing if something's going good, well, we'll just put more money on it and keep it going. And I didn't have that, and even like enough money to potentially have producers that I had picked out from the beginning, or I don't know, it's not having that and not knowing who to contact if things are going good, or if things are going bad, what do we do next? So there's definitely pros and cons to it, but I've had like a pretty cracking year as independent, and I couldn't have asked for more. So
all seems to be paying off, as your latest single has been doing the business on streaming platforms and now playlisted at Radio 2. And the song is, of course, Roots, which is the one you performed both at your first audition and in the X Factor final. And I know this is the one that your fans have been waiting for, in fact, begging you on a daily basis to release for the last 4 years. So how does it feel to finally have put it out there officially?
It's a huge leap on my YouTube channel that I filmed like 5 weeks before I put Roots out. And it's very, very raw and emotional, where I'm like talking about it and I'm going, I'm not excited for this. I really don't want to put this song out because it feels like 4 years have passed. There's so much pressure. The fans expect so much from it. And I feel like it's going to flop. And I really just didn't believe in it anymore. So to see everything that's happened to it has been, it's kind of kept me going in a way. Any times where I've gone, you know, we've been doing this for 9 years now, and maybe now's the time that we just get a 9 to 5. Everything that's happened to Roots has been so reassuring and so unexpected. And just, yeah, it's just been lovely. And I think that song like got what it deserved. You know, the fans really asked for it, and they showed up when they needed to. And they showed up for me as well, not just the song. So it's been really good.
I've seen those videos you put out of you hearing your song being played on the radio for the first time, and when you found out you were in the big top 40, and it's just really lovely to see how excited you were. Is it moments like that that make all the hard work worthwhile?
100%, definitely. And that's the thing, like I record those moments for me to watch in like 20 years. And it's only when I show them to my manager that he's like, get that on TikTok. Come on now. But it's just, I know that those moments are like probably the biggest thing that will ever happen to me in my life. And that's why I document them. And I think like just being able to hear that on the radio and go like, I'm on mainstream radio, 9 years of working at this and writing songs and putting them out, and like finally something like this has happened. It's it's a huge relief and just like one of the best feelings ever.
I bet. And how do you measure your success as an artist these days anyway? Because once upon a time it was about having top 10 singles, but I think with the sheer volume of streams you need now to do that, just getting into the chart at all is a massive achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's really hard. And the thing is like the big top 40 is very different to the official chart top 40, and they work in different ways. They calculate streams and downloads and radio plays very differently. So it's really hard to know where to direct fans to and how to get streams up. And I think people have become very reliant on getting a song to go viral on TikTok that will then make it a hit, and you'll get in the charts that way. And labels are doing that now, which puts so much pressure on artists. So it's really difficult to gauge. But for me, just measuring my success is like, people are listening. That's all I've ever asked for. And I have been a pub singer, and I've been a wedding singer, and I've been in the corner of a restaurant singing when no one was listening. And for me, if I can have a headline show where at least 100 people come, that's success to me, because they know my name and they've come to watch me rather than walking into a pub and going, there's a singer on. So that's all I've ever asked for. And I'm lucky enough to have that.
And with Roots, of course, you'd been sitting on the song for so long, so the temptation must have been strong to tinker with it. I think you said you did over 20 versions of it. But as a fan of the song from the beginning, I mean, I was quite pleased that the final version was actually quite true to the original.
I'm so glad. And that is something that I was really scared about, and got a lot of messages on release day saying, thank God, like it's so similar to what we're expecting. And I think it was a really difficult one, because when I auditioned for X Factor, I didn't have the contact that I have now to make like instrumentals for me to sing to. So the way that I'd always heard Roots when I wrote it is the way that it sounds now, but I didn't necessarily have the producers and stuff to make that version when I auditioned for the show. So when I got to the final and they made this big backing track with drums and bells and whistles, people were like, this doesn't sound like the audition. And I was like, yeah, it's probably bigger than I would have gone, but it's more leaning towards where I wanted to take it. So this version that I've had to create to release, I really wanted like a hybrid of the sensitivity that was in my audition and then the hugeness that was in the final, and kind of picking out those bits. And it was really hard. We went through like 3 or 4 different producers and so many versions, and went to master, back to mix, back to master. And it was just like, it was a horrendous one to produce. Actually, it was not fun in slightest, but we got there in the end.
And after everything that's happened, I bet you're pleased that you were able to put it out exactly how you intended it to be. Because, of course, if you'd won the X Factor, it would have come out as a duet, which I thought was quite an odd decision by the producers. And as much as I'm sure it was amazing to share a stage with Paloma Faith, you must have been part of you that thought, hang on, this is my song.
I think that was it. And like, let me say very clearly, Paloma Faith is amazing. I had the best time working with her. She was great. But you're right in the way that I was kind of asked, if you win, what do you want your winner's song to be? It can be original. And I was like, obviously Roots. And the whole music team agreed. And then it was like a week later that they said, you'll find out your winner's duet today for your winner's song. And I was like, but my winner's song's Roots. And they were like, And at that moment, my heart dropped, because I was like, that's my baby. Like, Roots is a song that has obviously done so well from my audition, and people are waiting for, and they're asking me to sing it again. And I want it to be my winner song, but it's also mine. And I loved singing it with Paloma. And it was an amazing experience. And I'm so glad I have that. But I'm also so glad that, for many ways, actually, that I got to release it on my terms. And I've kind of spoken about this before, but I remember being behind the sliding doors waiting to find out who the winner was. And I said to one of the producers, so if I win right now, is Roots coming out at midnight? Because I haven't recorded it. And they said, yeah, we recorded yours and Paloma's vocal during sound check. And I was like, nah, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. So
be released and you've not even heard it.
Not heard it, probably wasn't paying attention. And probably wasn't singing it full out because I was on vocal rest. Like, it was just a stupid decision. So yeah, very glad about that, actually.
It all turned out all right in the end, didn't it? So let's talk about the EP. It's called I Wonder If You Wonder. What can people expect from that? What's the vibe?
So I kind of call it like the 6 stages of a relationship in a way. So it's like a full cycle. From like wanting to find someone, to meeting someone, to falling in love, to finding out there's like infidelity, to having to move on and then throw away their stuff. And then it's back to the beginning of like wanting to find someone again. And that that was kind of an accident that it all fell into that way. I just started picking songs that I'd written over the past few years, and went, oh, this all makes sense in this order. But yeah, there's a whole bag of emotions on there, and they're all like my true stories of boys that have either loved me or hated me. And yeah, I think like production wise as well, there's some fun stuff on there, there's some like really sad stuff on there, so it's a whole bag, a mixture. But I love it, and I think it's like my proudest piece of work to date for sure, and I'm like so glad that I got to do it by myself.
Well, it's a really enjoyable listen. I think Used to You is my favourite track on it.
What if I pack up and get in a taxi and you try to chase me down the high street? Or what if you miss me? Or maybe I'm crazy, but I got used to you and me. Or what if my phone dies and you try to call up? Or what if there's still a future for us? Or maybe I'm hoping for something and nothing, but I got used to you, used to you.
The CD, by the way, has got 2 extra tracks on it, including a cover of Iris, which you might have heard on Love Island. And I love that despite being independent, you still put out CDs. I think that they're due a bit of a revival. And I guess because nowadays you can sell them direct to the consumer, they're a valuable additional revenue stream, aren't they, for independent artists?
Yeah, I think if I could do vinyl, I could. It's so expensive to make, and I don't know if I'd have enough people to buy it to kind of recoup. And I collect vinyl, so like I would love to do that one day. But CDs, it's just nice to have something physical to hold, especially for people who are like collectors of music. I released all of the singles from this EP on CD, just like single CDs, and then the EP as a whole. So yeah, I just think it's nice, like if that's what people are into and they want a CD, even if they don't have a CD player, it's just nice to have. So yeah, massively into that.
And when you put out a new single, are you ever surprised by which songs are the ones that take off on streaming? Because it looks like your most streamed song to date is the one called Amsterdam, which you co-wrote with Patrick Jean, who I interviewed not long ago. He's great, isn't he? He's got an amazing voice as well. But yeah, do you ever get a feeling about like this one's going to be the one that's going to do well?
Yes and no. So it's really hard. We all thought that Used to You was like the one. So it's my favorite song. I know you just said it's yours as well. And I think within my core fan base, it seems to be a fan favorite, but generally not. And it was like the only song that didn't get a placement on New Music Friday on Spotify that I've ever released. And like we made a radio edit for it because we were going to pitch it to radio, and then it just didn't do what we'd expected. So it does sometimes surprise you. Like I had the least like expectations for Roots, and look what that's happened. And especially with Amsterdam, actually from the first EP, we only ended up putting Amsterdam out as a single because Just a Girl, which was supposed to be the focus track of my first EP, we couldn't film the music video for because we were in lockdown. So we ended up swapping the releases around. So actually Amsterdam was never supposed to be a single. And had it not been a single, it wouldn't have got Spotify editorial playlists and been, had the hype that it had. And in the same way, like we all thought that Just a Girl would be the one off the last EP. And it was actually the least streamed track. So yes, sometimes you do get it wrong, but sometimes it's a nice surprise for those tracks to take off. And yeah, Amsterdam's done bits. Don't know why, but there we go.
Wanted you could take my man, oh damn you, Amsterdam. I know that you're prettier than I am. There's a bigger world out there than me, and I'm scared it's where you want to be if he finds out he can. Oh damn you, Amsterdam.
Well, maybe you could give Used to You another try after Roots.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because Roots is, it's been out for 3-4 months now, and it's still going. It's still on mainstream radio and doing bits. So definitely when that's kind of petered down a bit, I might give Used to You a revival, because that radio edit was supposed to go to radio and never, it's only ever ended up being on the CD. It's not on any streaming platforms or anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of the fans actually prefer it to the original version. So we shall see.
So what else is coming up for you this year? Are we going to have more music? Any live dates?
I would love some live dates. I've definitely got plans. I'm starting to get like a band together before. I've never had a band before, so I'm trying to get one together and plan out kind of what I can do live, what venues I would like. And it's hard to gauge because I've never done headline shows, and all my releases were kind of in this weird lockdown period. So I'm like, what capacity do I go for? Who's going to turn up? Like, I have no idea. So it's definitely going to be a bit of trial and error this year for live, but it's something that's got to be on my tick list because I've not performed live in so long. And yeah, definitely more music, which I've just started working on this week. So yeah, very exciting.
And it's your birthday next week, isn't it? Have you got anything nice planned?
It is the big 2-5. So me and my friends are going to London this weekend. They've bought me tickets for Magic Mike live show. So that is going to be hilarious. And yeah, just probably celebrating with my friends up here. And yeah, nothing special actually, but that'd be cute.
Great stuff. So the new EP by Grace Davies, I Wonder If You Wonder, is available to download and stream. And you can also still buy a signed CD copy from her website, gracedaviesofficial.com. Grace, thanks for talking to me. Hope you have a lovely birthday and good luck with everything you've got coming up.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You're a star.
And then you came my way. Oh, let me love you until we're all. Oh, let me love you. 'Cause my roots won't keep me warm. My roots won't keep me warm. Oh, my roots won't keep me warm. My roots won't keep me warm.